Cleveland is combusting, and the Shedeur Sanders saga might be the spark that burns the old regime to the ground. You can feel it, right? That tension in the air. The sense that something way bigger than football is happening inside the Browns building. On the surface, this is about a 1-point loss to the Bengals. But underneath? It's about power, ego, and a generational talent being treated like a backup prop. Let's rewind the tape. Shedeur Sanders comes into training camp like a walking headline. Media magnet. Impressive poise. A preseason clinic on timing, accuracy, and field awareness. Fans were buzzing. Players were whispering. The spark was there. You could feel the momentum building like a storm just off the coast. And then, nothing.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
He gets benched. Reps stripped. Game days spent in a hat and headset while the offense crumbles like stale cornbread. And all of it justified with vague phrases like development and the long-term plan. Translation? Fear. Ego. Insecurity. Kevin Stefanski's post-game meltdown wasn't just a heat-of-the-moment snap. It was the visible crack in a dam that's been under pressure for weeks. This team is not just mismanaging talent. It's actively resisting change, terrified that if Sanders succeeds, it'll expose how wrong the entire quarterback strategy has been. And that's the real scandal, isn't it? Because what we're seeing isn't just a bad call or a slow transition. This is deliberate sabotage. A franchise clinging to a plan that no longer fits the moment. A coaching staff too proud to admit that the rookie might be the best player in the room. And the consequences? They're stacking up. Veterans are reportedly frustrated. The locker room feels split. The media's circling like sharks. Even outside voices like Travis Kelce and Derek Carr are throwing shade. When other players in the league are calling out your team's dysfunction, you know it's gone mainstream. This isn't just a PR problem, it's a trust crisis. And at the center of that storm is Shedeur Sanders, quietly carrying himself with the kind of composure most 10-year vets would kill for. Not complaining. Not posting cryptic messages. Just waiting, dangerously patient, while the franchise fumbles what could be a once-in-a-generation opportunity. Let's be real, you don't bench a quarterback who looks that ready unless you're protecting something. Maybe it's another QB's ego. Maybe it's a front office that doesn't want to admit it missed. Maybe it's a coach terrified of being outshined by a 21-year-old. But here's the problem, they're not just hurting Sanders. They're sinking the entire ship. Because every week he doesn't play, the narrative tightens like a noose. Every stalled drive, every 3-and-out, every wasted possession adds fuel to the fire. And when that locker room eventually tips, when the veterans finally say, enough is enough, it's over. This is the part in every great sports saga where the franchise has two choices. Double down on the dysfunction and ride it into the dirt. Swallow the ego, hand the reins to the future, and hope you're not already too late. Because make no mistake, Shedeur's not waiting forever. He's a brand, a business, a movement. And there are other teams that would bend over backwards to build around him. If Cleveland can't see that, someone else will, and soon. So, Browns fans, where does this go next? Do they keep playing scared? Keep shielding fragile egos? Or do they finally open their eyes, admit the obvious, and let the kid play? Your move, Cleveland. But the clock's ticking. And Sanders? He's ready now. Shedeur Sanders was named the starter. The shift wasn't just felt inside the stadium, it rippled through the entire league. You could hear it in the way analysts changed their tone overnight. You could see it in the body language of the players, how the defense suddenly played like they had something to believe in again. You could even feel it in the fans' voices, no longer angry or sarcastic but hopeful. Tentative, sure. But real. And that's a currency Cleveland hasn't had in decades. But the real twist? It wasn't just about Shedeur's arm or football IQ, it was what his rise exposed. Because if one rookie could come in and immediately elevate the entire team, what does that say about the leadership that kept him sidelined? It says everything. It says that for years this franchise has been suffocating under its own decision-making. Afraid to pivot. Afraid to admit mistakes. Afraid to hand over power to the one person who's actually prepared to handle it. In that sense, Shedeur didn't just earn the job, he forced a reckoning. Let's talk about Stefanski. This was a coach who came in with promise. Smart. Measured. Respected. He had that steady hand vibe that teams love. Until things get chaotic. Because that's where leadership really gets tested, isn't it? Not when everything's going to plan, but when it all falls apart in real time. And what did Stefanski do when his system cracked? When the veteran QB wasn't delivering? When the locker room started leaning toward the rookie? He doubled down, refused to adjust, took the route of control over courage. And honestly, that choice might have cost him his future in Cleveland. Because now that Shedeur's starting and winning and carrying himself like a 10-year vet in post-game pressers, there's no going back. No, see how the season unfolds. No, let's keep evaluating. The Browns made a decision, but Shedeur made a statement. And now he owns the room. Ownership is finally on board. Van Pelt has rebuilt the offense around what works now: tempo, spacing, movement, freedom. The playbook is no longer shackles, it's a weapon. And the receivers? Well, they're thriving. Because for the first time in a long time, they know the ball's coming in hot and accurate. Even the offensive line is playing better, because that's what happens when a QB actually helps you win games. Guys dig deeper when they believe their effort matters. And here's the part nobody's talking about yet: the ripple effect. Shedeur's rise is going to force every young QB in the league to reevaluate what's possible. It's going to shift how coaches manage rookies. It might even impact the draft, because what he's showing is that waiting isn't always wisdom. Sometimes it's wasted time. And for players, it's a lesson in staying ready. Sanders didn't pout. He didn't throw shade on social media. He didn't pull a trade me stunt. He watched. He studied. He waited. And when the moment came, he owned it. This is a masterclass in leverage, without ever saying a word. But back to Cleveland. Because this team has lived through every flavor of heartbreak. The botched draft picks, the quarterback carousels, the locker room implosions, the coaching merry-go-round. Fans have been trained to expect disappointment. And now they're holding something fragile. Hope. Not just hope for wins, but hope that the franchise finally understands how to build around talent, not bury it. That they're done being scared of the spotlight and ready to chase it. And it's not just about Shedeur. This is about culture. About finally building something that makes sense. About players feeling seen, heard, and valued. Because when a franchise starts doing right by its best people, the whole system lifts. And yeah, this next stretch of games is going to test him. Teams will scheme for him. The pressure will rise. Mistakes will come. That's football. But if you're Cleveland, you ride with him. Through every bump, every interception, every wild scramble. Because what he brings can't be faked. Leadership, command, vision, swagger without arrogance, confidence with purpose. You don't find that every year. Sometimes you don't find it in a decade. And if we're being real, the Browns almost missed it, again. Almost let pride get in the way of progress. But now, the course is clear. Give him the reins. Protect him. Build around him. Let the old playbook burn if you have to. Because you're not just playing for a playoff spot anymore. You're playing for a new identity. One that doesn't rely on excuses. One that doesn't flinch when the lights get bright. So what happens next? That's the question hanging in the air. And this time it's not just for the front office or the coaching staff. It's for the fans. Because if this city rallies behind him, really rallies, this story could become something special. A rookie who walked into a legacy of dysfunction and turned it into a redemption arc. A city that finally saw a quarterback not as a savior but as a partner. A team that stopped listening to its fears and finally followed its fire. And for the first time in decades, maybe, just maybe, the Browns won't be chasing history. They'll be making it. Now, what do you think? Is this the dawn of a new era? Has Shedeur already done enough to change the future of this franchise? Or are you still waiting for the other shoe to drop? Let me know in the comments. And if you're ready to ride this roller coaster with us, from scandal to spotlight to whatever comes next, hit that subscribe button. Because trust me, this story's only getting wilder. Browns have handed Shedeur the wheel. We're not pulling over, we're putting the pedal through the floor. And the thing is, this isn't just about football anymore. This is bigger. This is about culture. This is about legacy. This is about everything Cleveland's been trying to be for the last 20 years finally snapping into focus around one player who gets it. Let's talk about the vibe shift. There's something electric about watching a quarterback who wants the moment. Shedeur doesn't blink, doesn't panic, doesn't play like a rookie trying to not screw up. He plays like someone who already knows he belongs, and now he's just waiting for the rest of the league to catch up. And that's contagious. It's in the way the receivers run their routes a little crisper. The way the linemen fight a little harder in the fourth quarter. The way the defense feeds off the energy, because they know that even if they give up a score, the guy under center is going to march right back out and answer. You can't fake that. You can't coach it. And you definitely can't bench it. Let's be honest, this is the most exciting the Browns have looked in years. Not because they've magically fixed everything overnight, but because, for the first time, it feels like they're finally building on the right foundation. Remember how many times this team tried to manufacture excitement? The free agent splashes, the draft day trades, the PR campaigns, all surface no soul. But Shedeur? He's not a stunt. He's not hype. He's substance. The kind of player who makes you believe in process again. In patience, because his rise shows you that maybe the wait really was worth it. But here's the part that's got the NFL sweating. This kid isn't just good. He's media proof. You know what I mean? Most rookies get eaten alive by the spotlight. The expectations crush them. One bad throw and the headlines turn. But not Shedeur. He's built different. He's been famous since high school. He's been in front of cameras his whole life. He grew up on NFL sidelines. You can't rattle him. And you sure as hell can't spin a narrative he doesn't control. That press conference after his first start? Calm, gracious, confident. I'm just here to help this team win. That's all I care about. Boom. Leader. You don't teach that. You don't manufacture that in a quarterback room with whiteboards and motivational slogans. That's just who he is. And it's terrifying for every other team in the division. Because if this is what he looks like in week 1 of being the starter, what's he gonna be by December? What about next season when the offense is built around him from the start? When the chemistry's locked in, when the coaches trust him completely, when the fanbase is all in? Let's be real, we could be watching the early stages of something franchise-defining. But hold up, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Because as much as this is a feel-good breakthrough for the Browns, it's also a brutal wake-up call. Because the elephant in the room? They almost blew it. Think about that. Think about how close this franchise came to wasting another generational talent. All because of ego. All because of the plan. All because a few people in a boardroom didn't want to admit that the rookie was better than the guy they planned to start. It's wild, isn't it? That the thing that saved Cleveland might have never happened, if not for a 1-point loss and a meltdown on live TV. Sometimes rock bottom isn't a moment. It's a mirror. And in that mirror, the Browns saw it clear. We're not just losing games. We're losing time. And in the NFL, time is death. So they ripped the Band-Aid off. They made the switch. And yeah, it might have been ugly. It might have been public. But it was right. And now, it's working. Now the question becomes, how far can this go? Can Shedeur lead them to the playoffs? Sure. The AFC's a battlefield, but momentum like this is real. Chemistry matters. Confidence matters. And right now the Browns have both. But the bigger question, the one that really matters, is this. Can Cleveland learn from this? Can they use this moment, not just as a turning point on the field but as a cultural reset? Can they finally put the ghosts of the past behind them? The quarterback graveyard. The media jokes. The chaos. The distrust. The dysfunction. Because Shedeur isn't just your QB1. He's your second chance. Not just to win, but to evolve. To become the kind of franchise that recognizes greatness before it's proven. That supports its stars instead of stifling them. That builds legacies instead of burying them. That's the opportunity. That's the challenge. And if Cleveland's smart, they won't let this moment slip through their fingers. Because right now, they've got the guy. They've got the city behind him. They've got the momentum. They've got hope. All that's left is to believe in it. So to every Browns fan who's still waiting for the collapse, I get it. You've been here before. You felt the rug get pulled. But this time, something's different. This time, there's a kid in the huddle who believes it won't fall apart. And honestly, that might be enough to make it true. So buckle in. Watch every snap. Savor every win. Endure the setbacks. Because this isn't just another flash in the pan. This isn't a teaser trailer. This is chapter 1. And something tells me Shedeur Sanders is about to write the rest of the story in bold highlight reel ink. Let's ride. Shedeur Sanders is the guy in Cleveland, you'd think the dust would settle. That the drama would die down. That the city would finally exhale. Spoiler alert, it didn't. Because when you plug a star quarterback into a franchise still figuring out how to handle a star, things get wild fast. Not chaotic, in the good way. Like suddenly everything is on fire, but for once, it's not a dumpster. It's a rocket launch. And Cleveland? They're not used to liftoff. They're used to crumbling just before takeoff. But here we are. New energy. New leadership. New face of the franchise. And with every snap Sanders takes, it's like the team finally speaks the same language. It's not perfect, but it's fluent. There's rhythm. There's trust. And most importantly, there's bite. And yet, in true Browns fashion, there's always a twist. Because now that Shedeur's success is undeniable, the narrative machine has kicked into overdrive. You've got national pundits doing full 180s. People who mocked him in July are now calling him the future of AFC North football. Cool. Cute. Convenient. But let's not forget, they weren't with him shooting in the gym. This kid got dragged before he took a single NFL snap. Only getting attention because of his dad. Flashy but unproven. A distraction. Yada yada yada. And now that he's balling out? Now they want to ride the wave? Nah. This is his moment. Not theirs. Not the analysts. Not the doubters. Not the execs who whispered he should sit an entire season. This moment belongs to Shedeur. The kid who didn't just bet on himself, he stared down the old system and dared it to blink. But here's where it gets even spicier. Shedeur's rise isn't just a quarterback story, it's a challenge to how the entire NFL does business. We're talking about a rookie who came in with his own brand, his own media strategy, his own voice. He didn't walk into the league asking for permission. He walked in expecting to lead. And that scares some people. Because the NFL, let's be real, is still uncomfortable with players who come in knowing their worth. Especially young black quarterbacks who don't play the humble, grateful rookie routine. Shedeur didn't nod along. He didn't beg for a seat at the table. He built his own table and said, "Try to keep up." And now, the league is scrambling to figure out how to deal with that. You're seeing it in the press. You're seeing it in the broadcast booth. The tone is shifting, but the subtext is still there. Can he sustain this? Is he mature enough? Is he focused enough? Spoiler alert again, he is. He's more focused than half the front offices that passed on him. More locked in than the guys who tried to keep him buried on the depth chart. And now that he's proven he can win games, command a locker room, and energize a franchise that's known nothing but dysfunction, there's no going back. This is the era of Shedeur Sanders. But let's not pretend it's smooth sailing from here. The pressure's only going up. Every team he plays from now on, they're coming for him. Defensive coordinators are dissecting his tape frame by frame, looking for any crack in the armor. Media outlets are waiting for a single bad game to flip the headline. Was the hype premature? Because that's how it works. The higher you climb, the harder they want to pull you back down. But guess what? He knows that. He's ready for that. Because this kid didn't grow up in the shadows. He grew up in the spotlight, with a dad who lived in the epicenter of sports, culture, and controversy. Shedeur didn't just inherit Dion's charisma. He inherited the blueprint. The mental toughness. The PR savvy. The ability to control the storm instead of running from it. And maybe that's what Cleveland needed all along. Not just a quarterback but a culture changer. Someone who doesn't flinch when the pressure hits. Someone who can walk into a room full of losing seasons, broken trust, and skeptical veterans, and make them believe anyway. Shedeur didn't just earn the respect of the locker room. He galvanized it. And now, the Browns look like a different team. Not just because of the wins but because of the way they're winning. Gritty. Fast. Confident. Creative. This isn't the old try not to lose mentality. This is line it up, we're coming at you football. And that shift, that mentality, starts at QB1. Let's talk about the city. Cleveland fans? They've been through it. More pain than playoff appearances. More hope than follow-through. And yet, they never left. They never stopped showing up. They never stopped caring. So when a player finally comes along who represents not just potential but change, they feel it deep. And that's what Shedeur has become. Not just a player to root for. A symbol of what this city could be if it stopped tripping over itself. A leader who actually looks like he wants the smoke. Who's not scared of the moment. Who's not deferring or deflecting. Who owns it, lives it, breathes it. That's rare. That's powerful. And if the Browns are smart, they'll do everything in their power to protect it. That means no more coaching drama. No more locker room leaks. No more second-guessing or backtracking. You have your guy. Build around him. Period. Because this league? It moves fast. And if you don't capitalize on momentum, it turns into a missed opportunity. Cleveland's had enough of those for a lifetime. So now, you ride the wave. You lean all the way in. You give Shedeur the support, the weapons, the freedom, and then you get out of his way. Because the Browns are no longer waiting for their moment. They're living in it. And Shedeur Sanders? He's not just part of the plan, he is the plan. Welcome to the new era. Let's finish the fight. Shedeur Sanders is more than a moment, just wait. Because this is the beginning of a movement. Picture it, snow swirling in Cleveland, primetime lights cutting through the December cold, and Shedeur walking onto the field with that calm, laser-focused stare. No theatrics. No chest pounding. Just business. The kind of business that reminds you, Yeah, we really might have a superstar under center. And it's not just fans catching that vibe. Word around the league is shifting. Quietly. Coaches are talking. Scouts are double-checking their notes. Executives from teams who passed on Sanders in the draft are asking each other, how did we miss this? Simple answer? You didn't believe it was real. You thought the name, the flash, the charisma, it was too polished. Too brand first. Too media savvy to be gritty. You wanted a storybook underdog. What you got was a polished assassin who rewrote the playbook before he ever took a snap. And that's exactly what Cleveland needed. Not another rebuild. Not another maybe next year. They needed someone who refused to play by the rules of this cursed timeline. Shedeur ripped the timeline apart. And now, Browns fans are watching a version of this team they haven't seen in decades. One that doesn't collapse in the fourth quarter. One that doesn't flinch in close games. One that actually, gasp, looks like it belongs in the postseason conversation. But don't get it twisted. There will be bumps. He's still a rookie. The learning curve is real. The hits are harder. The windows are smaller. The pressure is heavier. But he's built for it. You see it in the way he holds himself after a bad series. No panic. No finger pointing. Just chin up, helmet back on, I'll get it next time. That quiet confidence? That's what separates the flash in the pan from the franchise cornerstone. And you know what else? That kind of energy is rare. Especially in a place like Cleveland, where the ghosts of the past hang thick in the air. But Shedeur doesn't see ghosts. He sees opportunity. And that might just be the most dangerous mindset in football. Because when you mix talent, confidence, and a chip on your shoulder, you don't just win games, you change destinies. So whether you're a diehard Browns fan, a casual NFL watcher, or someone just now jumping on the Sanders train, strap in. This isn't the end of a controversy. This is the start of a legend. And if you thought Cleveland couldn't handle the spotlight, well, they've got a quarterback now who is the spotlight. Let the league watch. Let the doubters talk. Because Shedeur's not here to be liked. He's here to win.